Okay, I think we are live on air. I don't see any viewers yet, but let's kick off anyway.
Okay.
Okay. So, welcome to the webinar, the Turas Fián webinar about Maeve, our very first wild journey that's taking place in August between the 21st and the 24th in Sligo in Ireland. And the purpose of this webinar is really just to give you a flavour of the content and us, and we'll talk a bit more about that as we go on. In terms of technical housekeeping, I think that I can't actually see questions on the right of my screen, which I should be able to do. Oh, I can see text now. Vanessa, can you see the text panel on the right of your screen?
Yes,
yeah?
I can.
Okay. So those of you who are joining us live, if you have a question or comment at any point, there's a text box on the right-hand side of your screen, and you can type in any questions there or any comments, and we'll reply to them. So feel free to ask a question at any time. If you hold on to it, you might have forgotten it, and if it's live and it wants to be asked right now, then just go with it, and we'll answer questions as they come up. So if anybody's having any problems with sound, let me know and I'll sort that out. I'm the tech wizard for our webinar. And other than that, we'll get going. So I'm going to hand over to Vanessa.
Okay, thanks, Beth. So I just invite everybody, if you're here live or if you're watching this at any point, it's just nice really just to connect in and just to feel each other. Time is really irrelevant, so if you're wanting to connect into us, connect into the essence of what we're offering, just invite you just to take a breath and just to feel that in your body just for a moment, just a few breaths. So we all breathe together and just feel the breath in your body. Find that place within you that connects to others. Connects to people on the call, connects to Beth, connects to me. So no need to really get any of this right, no need to try to make anything happen. We're just feeling for a feeling, for a felt sensation within our bodies and with an intention to connect. And just feel yourself grounding. Connecting in the message that we've got for you today. Just give yourself a moment, just take a couple more breaths. When you're ready, come back to the space and open your eyes.
Beautiful, thank you.
So just welcome everybody. Today we're really just talking about an overview of what Turas Fián is really all about, and also what Beth and Vanessa are all about and how we came about putting together Turas Fián, and also about Maeve, specifically about Maeve, and more of the detail about the inspiration, and also the logistics and technical information about Maeve as well. There'll be opportunities for questions if anybody has any questions. And then at the end, yeah, we're just going to close it off and feel that. And if there's other ways you'd like to connect with us afterwards, we'll let you know about that too. Okay. So, Turas Fián, Beth. What does it all mean?
What does it all mean? I guess just to put a bit of context in it, I like to call it our baby, Vanessa and I's first baby. Maybe there'll be more, who knows. I like to call it our first baby. And really, for me, it's come about as a result of the parts of me that resonate with some of the parts of Vanessa. And then that bursts into a blossoming of something in the world. And the first of these blossomings that's an offering for other people, that other people can access and be a part of and co-create in, is this project, Turas Fián. And the words are taken from Irish and translate loosely, not exactly, but loosely, as wild journeys. And for me, one of the significant pieces of this for me has been that I spent 25 years, nearly 30 years, spiritually seeking, asking the big questions in life, looking for meaning, looking for spiritual home. And very often I looked for places that were not of my blood. So I looked for that in Indian traditions, in Nepali traditions, in Native North American, Native Siberian traditions. And while they have much to offer, and I found much in those traditions, I realized a number of years ago that what I was doing was I was negating my own history. I was negating my own culture, tradition, and very subtly and unconsciously negating my own body by doing that, negating my own blood and flesh and bone in the doing of that, seeking in cultures away from my own. And so when this baby burst into life, Turas Fián, for me, it's about reclaiming that. It's about owning all that is me, and that includes this flesh, this blood, these bones, and the history that is of this body, and that is the Irish Celtic archetypes, myths, stories, and the land of the island itself.
Beautiful. Beautiful. What's coming to mind when I'm really hearing you, Beth, is in my journey, is that sort of my ancestors came from your land and went away to another land, and I've grown up in another land. I've grown up in Australia, and I've been exposed to multiple traditions all around me, and yet what I've really thought within that is this sort of pagan traditions, or harking back to that place, harking back to Ireland, on a deep core level within my being, and then similarly, not just in just ideas and feelings, but in my spirituality and in my sexuality. And so it's like I've come from this, and I'm going, oh, I want to come back. I want to come back. And back into that source code of what's lying there, juiciness for me. So I've been searching for that piece. And so I really feel in my being, that there are a lot of people out there who also feel that same, who have ancestors who immigrated and don't have that connection. They know that they belong somewhere. There's like, there's some other piece that's missing, some other piece that can connected to. And what I really find is I've delved more into sort of that side of, the Irish ancient traditions and mythologies, and in as much as I have done with that, certainly I'm no expert at it because there's so much to learn. what I've really found, and what's really been attractive to me, is the fact that all the gods and goddesses in the past, and the kings and the queens, are all rich and juicy and multi-layered and dark and sexual and passionate and sovereign. You know, they're all sovereign beings, just knowing exactly what they want and going out and getting it. And there's this undercurrent of that I feel within Ireland. And yet there's also this like layer on top of that where everyone knows Irish people to be, oh, we're all happy and we're good-hearted. But I'm like, but I know Ireland from down here. It's like, this is where it's all juicy for me. And so I feel like there's pieces there to really dive into and to delve into and to really bring up. And so, you know, when we connected and we sort of shared that we have that similar vein, we share that similar sort of piece, that's sort of, you know, where I feel like the juice of where Turas Fián really got born was from that place of wanting to open that up and wanting to explore more of that, not just for ourselves, but to share that with other people who might realize there's actually so many more layers to what's on offer here in this land and in history, and what's there for the self, what's there for the growth of the self, the transformation of the self. So that's where I feel where our connection really birthed itself from.
And part of it for me feels really timely in that Ireland has been through enormous social and political change over the last 30 years, but that sort of seems like it's accelerated over the last number of years. You know, we've got things like happening like the water protests, we've got the upcoming marriage equality referendum. And Ireland is a very different place to how it was 10, 15, 30 years ago. People feel much more empowered. They, in general, feel much more like they are in control of their own destiny and their own lives and their own power and their own freedom. And for me, a part of reclaiming that and a part of magnifying that is looking at these ancient stories, myths, legends, and archetypes, and seeing what we can learn from those, seeing what we can take and apply to now. Because this isn't about harking back to somewhere in the past, you know, with wistful rose-colored glasses. It's about very much living in the now, right now, this minute, and being sovereign in all aspects of life. Spiritually, politically, socially, physically, emotionally, sexually, in all ways, financially, in all ways that we can be sovereign as human beings.
Yeah, beautifully put.
So let's talk about Maeve. Let's talk about this particular workshop, because Turas Fián's got another life outside of just this one workshop. There's more coming, but we'll get back to that later. But let's talk about Maeve.
Great. So really, I really want to just bring in this idea of what these journeys are really about. You know, we talk about this word journey, but what do we mean by that? Now, Maeve's a journey, and so journeys are, I guess, they're not destinations, they're not outcomes, they're not goals. We're not seeking to go to a specific place. We're actually just about, hey, we're going for a walk and we're going on this path and we're walking our own path, but we're walking side by side and we're heading in this direction. Would you like to come along? And I really want to sort of lay that out, that our workshops and our retreats are really a space for people to journey together, yet have their own journey at the same time. So this is about transformation. This is about diving deeper and growth and finding out more about who you are and what's relevant for you specifically. They all journey and do specific activities together, but there'll be time for you to do your own inner reflection and your own inner work and be fully supported with that as you walk along that journey. So I really wanted to speak into, what does journey really mean? And you know, we journey within, we journey together, you know, we journey in exploring new and wonderful things and having a go and going to our edges. So So journey is a really juicy word that sort of has multiple layers, and the wildness of it. What does wild really mean? You know, for me, I really get the sense of wild being something about being authentic, coming back to something that's at our core. You know, that we're all wild at our core. We're all something that wants to be free, that wants to express, that wants to be full, and all of that. So I really get that place where we're wanting to come back to those places. You know, for me, I feel like sort of the conformity of life is not normal, whereas being wild is normal. That's when we're actually flowing with our freedom, actually flowing with the simplicity of who we are and what we actually feel. So the Maeve is a wild journey in its own essence. So Beth, do you want to describe a bit more about what that essence really means?
Yeah, I guess just to be really clear, you know, that this isn't a journey about Maeve, the queen, you know, who ruled and reigned for 60 years in Rathcrogan, about whom much has been written in terms of the legend and the story. And that's, I mean, it's super interesting, and that's the essence of where this workshop is coming from. And that's the archetype that we're exploring, but we're not exploring her specifically as a historical, archaeological, anthropological, any other logical figure. We're looking at the very distilled essence of her. And so what does her story distill into? For me, it distills into, she was a warrior queen. So a fiercely passionate warrior, fearless warrior queen, who reigned and ruled over Connacht for, legend has it, 60 years. And in that time, she had many husbands and many lovers. And there's much written about how the kings of Connacht had to marry Maeve. And in the marrying of Maeve, they were marrying the land. So there's threads there of really deep, visceral, physical connection to the power of the land, the sacredness of the land. And the land not just being something, not being something that's owned, being something that's actually communed with, being something that's unified with, that we become one with, we join with in sacred union. And there's a power in that marriage. And she personifies that in the stories. She's sexually powerful. She has many husbands, many lovers, and we can tell from the history books that this was a given for her at that time in that role. So she's a sexually powerful woman. She's a warrior queen. She's powerful, sovereign, and that's the distilled essence of what we're creating space to explore within each other as individuals, and also together as a collective, as a temporary community of women coming together. Whether those women are Irish or from other places, or living here and from somewhere else, like you, or, you know, women don't need to be Irish at all. They don't need to have any Irish in their blood in order to feel some sense of connection with a desire to explore and or express the distillation of this archetype. You know, to question and to explore, where's my power? Where's my sexual power? Am I using it? Am I cultivating it? Is it dead? What's it doing? Where's my connection to the land, to the place upon which my feet walk? What's my connection to that place, in the place that I live on this planet? How often do I make a conscious connection with the place and the planet that I live? Where am I giving away my power in my relationships? Where am I abandoning my own power in myself? All these are the threads that are weaving together for exploration in the workshop. Does that make sense?
Yep, wonderful. And I really want to add into that also this this essence of fire. That this workshop also embraces the element of fire. Fire from the place of Maeve being about our passion, being about a woman who just went out there and claimed what she wanted, went and took what she wanted, and she the fire for her sexual passion, for her heart's passion, for her body passion, for everything that was fiery, and often we can't claim those things unless we know where our body is, we know what our body wants, we know where our boundaries are, and we know how to say yes, we know how to say no, and we're really clear about being in integrity with that. So I really get this piece of fire, that sort of element of fire that really burns inside, what Maeve's really about. I really wanted to bring that piece in about fire.
Yeah,
is there anything
I
else
think maybe
you want to share about that? Yeah?
I just think maybe, some of the other workshops that we might run, next year, the year after, they may have a more core connection to the other elements, to water, to earth, to air, whereas Maeve, for us, is really about fire.
Yeah. And also the transformational qualities of what fire is about, because these workshops are about transformation. They're about that inner transformation. So what does fire do inside of us? It burns up things, it burns up the old and ignites the new. And so we're really sort of tying that into the transformational qualities of fire being a transformational element in that sense.
Yeah, beautiful. So we will have fire as an actual practical piece of the weekend, and we will have fire ceremony as part of the weekend to sort of represent that burning away of what's no longer wanted or needed or desired, and then arising from that what is desired in terms of moving forward. So I'm just wondering, actually, before we go on any further in relation to Maeve, we forgot to introduce ourselves at the beginning of the webinar. We forgot to say anything about who we are and what our own story and background is. Do you want to just share a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. Because I guess as facilitators of this workshop, we're bringing in a whole pile of different pieces of skills and experience, and and also at the same time a deeply energetic piece as well. That even though we have this myriad of different skills, and I'll talk about that in a set, we'll have an opportunity to share. There's also that feeling base, that body base, that energetic transmission, that I feel that what we really like to offer people is coming from that place as well, really getting a feeling for how things are and what direction things want to take. So that this experience is not necessarily just all coming from the head. We're not coming here just to talk to you about things. We're actually wanting to have a lived body experiential experience of something. So we want to feel it in the body and transmit it that way. But just talking about my own skill base, what I will be offering is that, my background is as a sexuality and intimacy coach, and I'm also a certified sexological body worker. So my background really, that's kind of like the technical piece. I'm also studying an undergraduate in counselling at the moment, but for me, almost they're kind of like superfluous little pieces of skills of things really are, and it's those are the things that will come into play that create structure. But the juice for me is all that energetic stuff, and I guess my background in my energetics is just from years of just being really exploring consciousness, exploring sexuality and in all different forms, and really understanding sacred sexuality, and I've explored through tantra and shamanism, and really a lot of it's been an organic process, moving from one thing to another. So there's that solid base of experience with other workshops and other retreats that I've been involved with, and I have my own practice here. So yeah, so there's that essence of capacity to support other people, to dive in and open up. And I think that's one of the core things that I really, really love about my work is taking people on journeys and really opening, giving people an opportunity to open to a place where they know they want to go, but being able to bring something that facilitates that process of opening in a deeply loving but full and intense way, and going to the level of whatever they need to go to make that happen. So I really want to reiterate that the space that we're going to hold we can hold a lot. So there's nothing that's going to show up at this workshop that we're going to go, oh my gosh, it's actually, we've seen a lot of stuff in our life that we can hold a lot. And I'm looking forward to holding that space, that really deep space for people. They can dive deeper into their beings.
Lovely, thank you. I can see that we've just got some viewers, so I just want to say again, as I said at the beginning of the broadcast, that if anyone has any questions or comments, please feel free to type them into the chat box on the right hand side of the screen, and we'll answer your questions as they come up. So I suppose, I think you used the word safety, and so I just want to speak about that a little bit in terms of my own background as a counsellor, psychotherapist, group facilitator. I've been working for, I think it's nearly 27, 28 years. I look much younger than I really am. So I have a lot of history and training, graduating from university with applied psychology, postgraduate study in psychotherapy. So I just want to make, I suppose, a point clear that should anything arise during the course of the workshop, that we can handle, and we are open to a really wide variety of issues that may arise for people during the course of the workshop. And that we both have considerable skill in terms of working with groups, facilitating groups, supporting people individually, in a wide variety of contexts and a wide variety of issues. And so I just wanted to speak to that really briefly. And also to say that I'm really excited about creating such an expansive space, in that one of the feedbacks that I very often get from people in relation to the group work that I do is that I am capable of holding a very broad, wide and deep space for people, which allows what is naturally moving in the body, in the person, to arise, because people feel like there's space to fully and freely be themselves without any judgment and without any fear going to come up in response to their authentic expression of their real and true self. And so I just wanted to speak to that we're open to whatever arises during the course of the workshop. Dealing with issues around sovereignty can very often bring up anger, it can bring up shame, fear, all sorts of emotions and feelings that can be really challenging and difficult. And also it can bring up real ecstasy, deep bliss, and we're open to those too. So we're open to the broad spectrum of whatever may arise during the course of the weekend.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I just wanted to ask you about something that you said, and you spoke about having an embodied experience. Maybe can you explain what we mean by an embodied experience? Like, what is an experiential exercise, for example?
Sure. So embodiment, or being embodied, really means in the body. What does that mean? It means sort of we have an experience of a felt sense within the body. So we it's all about body awareness. It's all about having an experience body sensation, of body feeling, of moving the body, of connecting with the body. So really integrating the body into an experience, into an activity, or a dialogue or an exchange or some form of activity that we might be doing, by yourself or with another person or as a group. So this is all about sort of creating embodied experiences where we get to really deepen our sense of how we know our bodies and what our bodies can actually do for us. And sometimes those experiences, we come face to face where we're not feeling embodied, and we realize that we're not embodied. And so part of this experience is learning how to be more embodied. And there's opportunities throughout the workshop to really dive into those places if we're not feeling connected with our bodies. That's part of what sovereignty is really about, is about knowing this body, knowing what it does, what it can do, and knowing where we end and where someone else begins. That's sort of the core for me about boundaries and about sovereignty, is about just knowing, like, that's actually where I'm not going to go, and I'm okay with that. And that's healthy for me to say that. Yeah. So does that really answer that question in regards to experiential and embodiment and body?
Yeah, I guess what I'm looking for is for someone who maybe hasn't been to a weekend experience like this before, what might an embodied experience, what might an embodied exercise look like? What might they be asked to do?
Okay, so I guess that the cornerstones of embodiment are really breath, sound, movement, touch, awareness. So it could involve any of those or all of them. So at the beginning, we did a breath exercise where we're sort of breathing into the body, and even just simple breath work can really get you accessing that core place where feeling inside, your attention has gone within. You're actually just noticing your breath. You're noticing where the breath is in your body. So you're bringing in awareness, and you're really looking at where that awareness is sitting. Am I breathing shallow? Am I breathing deep? Am I free? Am I constricted? And so the breath might be a part of that, about how of connecting with the body. And so we might use any of those elements in an activity.
Beautiful. That's perfect. Yeah, thank you. And so, of course, I want to make it really clear that all the participants at the workshop are completely in choice all the time about how much or how little they participate in every single exercise. So, for example, you and I, Vanessa, have spoken about the possibility that there may be an invitation to nudity at some point during the weekend. But to be really clear that that's just an invitation, and an invitation is just that. It's open to a yes, it's open to a no, and it's open to maybe. So everybody is in choice about what they experience, how much they experience, how much they participate in all of the aspects and component parts of the workshop. And if someone says no to something, then that's just as much of that person claiming their power as somebody saying yes. So all of those responses are equally respected.
Yeah, I mean, it's a sovereignty workshop after all.
Exactly.
So your process could be to say no.
Yeah, absolutely. And very often in my experience,
yeah,
for sure. My experience of, Irish people is that we, in general, find it very difficult to say no to people, and also find it quite difficult, in general, to ask for what we want. And it's my experience that quite a lot of people in northern Western Europe, so maybe people from the UK as well, also experience this. But there's difficulty in asking for what one wants and difficulty in saying no. And I love that. I love watching people who have previously said no, and the power that comes from, wow, I said no, and I can say no, and it feels okay and it feels good. I mean, I love that. I love watching that unfold in somebody. And equally, I love watching it unfold in somebody when they ask for what they want. And previously, that's been something challenging or difficult. So we're completely in respect of all of that and encouraging of it, because as you say, it's a sovereignty workshop. That's what it's all about.
At the same time, people have chosen for a reason to show up. And so the activities are there to challenge your edges.
Absolutely.
Although we never want you to go over your boundaries, we want you to challenge your edges, those places where you're learning, where you feel like, I feel resistance. Yeah, it might be fear, but I know that I want to do that, or I know there's a part of me that's more of me to discover on the other side of that edge. So we really encourage people to really walk into their edges and to seek support when they're not quite sure what to do with their edge, and we're there to guide those people over those edges, to support you,
Absolutely.
to challenge yourself,
Absolutely.
to learn.
As is the community of that will gather for the weekend workshop. We're going to form a circle of women for that weekend, and part of that reason is because it is a supportive community to have this individual process and collective process together. Yeah.
So I really want to do the organic nature also of the workshop. That the content and the activities will have an organic nature, in a sense that we will flow with the group. So for whatever reason, there's a reason why everybody who's there shows up. There's a reason why we've all come together. There's something to be learned from every person in the group. They're adding something to the group. And that collective of women, there's a journey to be had in that collective, and there's something walking around in that collective that we're all there to be a part of. So Beth and I are really about flowing with whatever that piece is, and adjusting and designing each activity based around what's coming forward, what is actually happening in the group. Because we like to flow with that organic nature. That's kind of what Turas Fián is all about.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I think that, I wouldn't want to be part of something that had a really rigid structure to it, that wasn't open to change and that wasn't open to a real co-creation. I mean, you and I have an intention for the weekend, we have a structure for the weekend, we have a focus, but within that framework, we're open to know it, and we're open to knowing that every single person who shows up for the weekend is bringing their own history, story, experience, fears, joys, desires, and that all adds into the alchemical pot for the experience that we're each going to have individually and as a group. And so I wouldn't want to be part of something that wasn't open to change based upon that energetic principle. If it was just, here's the weekend, this is what we've decided, and that's it, then that wouldn't be congruent, and it wouldn't be within integrity for me. So it's essential that we're open to moving and flowing with that change of whatever shows up during the weekend.
Okay.
So should we talk a little bit about exactly what the weekend would look like?
Yeah, so I was also wanting to bring in that idea of sexuality, because that's sort of like the big word, that firstly, because both of us have such a background in sexuality, and it's been such a focus in a lot of the work that we do. But at the same time, to really reiterate that this isn't a sexuality specific workshop. However, it's not excluded. So sexuality is a component of life, and we're about including everything. and that includes sexuality. So if you've got a learning edge or a desire to explore that element of your being, there's part of you that really wants to claim your sovereignty in that area in some capacity, then sure, this workshop, you know, might have something to offer for that, because we're about including that discussion, we're including that topic in some form or another. Is there anything else you wanted to add to that sexuality piece?
No, just other than to say that in terms of being inclusive, that the workshop is open to all women, irrespective of their age, irrespective of their sexual orientation. So if you're 18 or 80, you're welcome. If you're heterosexual, bisexual, lesbian, whatever label or you might choose to use for your sexual orientation, or none, you're welcome. If you're single, if you're in a relationship, if you're celibate, if you're in many relationships, you're welcome. That we really, if you identify as a woman and you lived the majority of your life as a woman, then you're welcome to the workshop. So I just wanted to make that clear in terms of being as inclusive as we possibly can be.
Absolutely. And I guess that's really the place of our level of inclusivity, is that I think I can speak for you, Beth, that we're both very inclusive people and understanding the realms of gender and what that means for different people. And so, you know, we're just getting really clear that what we're placing this particular workshop and what the focus and aim is, so that those people that they resonate with that, then that's the place for them.
Absolutely. And it's not about excluding anyone. It's about focusing in on a particular shared experience, a particular commonality of experience. And for me, that's what I'm wanting to focus in on. I'm not wanting to exclude anybody. I'm just wanting to have quite, within a very broad spectrum, to have a reasonably narrow focus on that. So that there is a shared experience of the women present, but within that there's also a diversity of age and sexual orientation and relationship status.
Yeah, and that's not to say that other workshops or journeys that we do might not be broader or more inclusive of different people. Yeah.
Absolutely, because we're already planning Maeve in Australia, which we'll talk a bit more about later, but that's open to anybody who wants to come. So that in itself is already different. So I'm just wondering, should we speak a little bit about the practicalities of the workshop for a bit?
Yeah.
Okay. So just in terms of the location and the venue, we've chosen an amazing location. I sort of find it quite difficult to believe that we found just such a perfect location for this workshop. And it's smack bang in the middle of where Queen Maeve ruled, which is a place called Rathcroghan in County Roscommon, and where she is allegedly buried, which is Knocknarea in County Sligo. It's only allegedly that she's buried there because it's never been excavated archaeologically, but all legend and myth and story points to Knocknarea as being her burial place. So the venue where the workshop is taking place is almost exactly equidistant between those two places. It sits on a hilltop, and from the hilltop you can see both Knocknarea and Rathcroghan. And the venue is a circular building, so it really speaks to this thread that is important for both Vanessa and I, of it being a gathering, a circle, a community, a gathering of equals. And circles speak to that. There is no leader around a round table. There is no head at a round table. And so the building that we're gathering in is a circular building, sitting on top of a hill, almost immediately, almost exactly between where Queen Maeve ruled and where she's buried. The building is a gorgeous eco lodge. It's rustic. but it has really high eco credentials, with compost toilets, and it's built from lots of recycled materials, and it gets a lot of its heating from solar heating. And all the materials are natural, beautiful wood, stone, lots of big glass windows, and it's really just right there in nature. It feels like it's a very womb-like environment as well. So while we're in our gathering, in our meeting, there will be the sort of sense of safety of this circular building and this circular womb that we'll be working in, and then we can step outside that onto this to a vista of a glorious vista of looking down through County Sligo, County Roscommon, County Leitrim out towards the Atlantic. It's just magic. So we're both really pleased to be able to offer the workshop in such a gorgeous venue and absolutely perfect location as well. I just want to say on that if anybody is coming from outside Ireland to the workshop and they're interested in spending some time either beforehand or after the workshop, that I'm more than happy to give advice and a suggestion and information on where to stay or perhaps where to go or what to do after that. And we'll post that sort of information on our Facebook page as well. Was there any more you wanted to say about that, Vanessa?
No, I think I'm excited and I'm impressed, and I think it's just amazing that this has landed where it's landed, and yeah, I'm very excited about the journey to be had.
Yeah, it really speaks to me of the timeliness of this workshop, and it really speaks to me of the rightness of it, that this location became available to us and was available, and it's perfect, and it just, when something all slots together so perfectly, there's a rightness to it.
Yeah.
So in terms of the accommodation, there are 3 different types of accommodation available to suit 3 different budgets. So you can see, if you look on our website, you'll see pictures of the accommodation also on our Facebook page. There's 2 dorm rooms available with, I think it's 6 beds in each, and they're quite spacious and comfortable. And then the next option is single cubicles around the outside of the Great Hall. So the Great Hall is a large circular, the main room inside the circular building. And that's where we will be gathering and doing our group work and eating and hanging out. And so around the outside of that are curtained off cubicles, with each with a single bed. And so that's our second accommodation option. And the third accommodation option is for those who might either like to camp outside the building or who would choose to because it's the budget option. So the camping option is $295 for the weekend. The private cubicle in the Great Hall is $345, and then sharing a dorm room with up to 5 others is €395. And so what those fees include is all of your meals. So that's dinner on Friday night, breakfast, lunch and dinner Saturday and Sunday, and breakfast Monday. And it includes your 3 nights accommodation and all of the activities that we will be including as part of the weekend. I think it's quite a good bargain myself. And so just to speak a bit about the food, actually, we've carefully chosen somebody who we both know, Cathy O'Neill, who's an excellent chef, and she's going to be our personal chef for the weekend. And she's going to provide deeply delicious, nourishing food for mind and body and heart for the weekend. She'll be able to meet any dietary requirements. So If participants are gluten-free, dairy-free, whatever is required, she'll be able to match that. She'll be able to meet that. And I just know that our food is going to be a feast for the eyes and the mouth and the nose. And that's really a very significant part for us, is that the food is nourishing to all aspects of our being for the weekend as well, and also nourishing and not at a cost to our environment. So the venue has their own organic garden, and many of our vegetables for the weekend will come from there, which are literally 20 feet away from where we'll be eating them. So that's a real plus point too for us. Was there anything that you wanted to say, anything you wanted to add on to any of that, Vanessa?
No, I think you've pretty much covered all the main pieces. If people have questions, they're more than welcome to ask them at a later stage. Email us for any details. So.
Yeah, exactly. And just to say, in terms of booking's really easy. You can either do it directly on the website, or you can email us at Fián, TURASFIAN, at gmail.com, and we'll email you back with instructions for how to book. €100 deposit secures your spot. And so if you want to make installment payments, then that's completely fine too. Vanessa, do you want to talk a little bit about Maeve Australia?
Yeah, sure. So Maeve Australia's next year, at the beginning of the year, and the exact location and time is still to be advised. It's all in process. But the workshop, I guess, as we've spoken before, it's going to have a different flavour, in the sense that it's inclusive of a wider group. So for those people that may not have grown up as women, who may not identify as women, are welcome to attend. And it's more about whether they feel the draw towards the essence of what Maeve is about. Whether they feel that that's something that resonates within their being. So I really feel like, as coming from a country that that was settled by Europeans, that there is definitely a different feel of living in a land that the original custodians are from a different group, a different bloodline, and so there's a great deal of respect in my being for that, and acknowledgement of the land, of the people who are original custodians of the Australian land. And it's about sort of finding that place of connection to that, and an honouring of that in the same time, and finding our commonality, in the fact that we're all about connecting to land, and that this thread of what we're offering is about connection to land. And so for a lot of people that that I know that live in Australia, who also connect into this sort of peace, this Irish, Celtic, pagan peace somewhere in their being, I know that this workshop is going to resonate for them. So in fact, it's probably going to have a completely different purpose and a completely different feel. And again, we're going to organically just flow with where the group is coming from and where the group is going. So there's so many different forms that these journeys can really take, and each one is its own thing in itself. So I'm excited to sort of to really give a different offering to the people in Australia, particularly almost in the realm of sexuality, because I feel like a lot of the offerings that are there from us, are really from other cultures. Again, they're from other cultures that aren't necessarily from our ancestry. So this is an opportunity to sort of go, hey, what about our Irish and our Celtic, sacred sexuality? What is that all about? And although we're not sort of saying, oh, we know everything about what they used to do in the past, we're about the same thing, about distilling the essence. How is it for now? How can it be present for now, and what can we take from that for ourselves? So divining our own sense of sacred sexuality through those pieces. And I really feel that that's a resonant piece within the Australian culture, that there are people who are really looking for that. And this is what Maeve has to offer in Australia.
I'm really, really looking forward to that. I mean, I've never been to Australia, but I have lived in Canada for a number of years. And so I have some understanding of what it's like to live in a place where one's blood is not from, and where there are people living side by side who are the original custodians of that place. And I have some sense of the separation of blood and place when that dynamic is present. And so I'm really interested to see what wants to show up and see what wants to emerge from that. I'm really looking forward to it. And as you say, I think it will be really different to Maeve Ireland, and we'll see how that unfolds.
So I think that's all for Maeve Australia for now. There'll be more of the information of that going up on the Facebook page as it becomes available. And then obviously as things progress, there'll be opportunities to book, and all of that will become available in a good time.
Yeah. So there was just one other piece around the possibility of other workshops. Other Turas workshops other than Maeve. Do you want to speak to that for a little bit?
Sure. So going along this theme of elements, as sort of just a piece in the workshop, really the next, I really want to speak into actually the idea of the body, and that we have sort of different energetic spaces in our body where we feel things. It's connected to our emotional body, and I really feel, for me, Maeve really sits in our power center, which is the center of our stomach. Well, I guess you can't really see it unless I'm sitting up a bit more, but it's really in this place in our stomach, and this is where we feel our power, where we feel our burning passion. So if we're feeling like we want to go like this with our tummy, and we tense our tummy, and when we're feeling like powerless, we tend to want to hide, and we want to cover that area. So I really feel like Maeve really sits within power center, and also with our sexual center, which is sort of our abdomen area, and it's sort of that sense of that fiery water, I guess, for those two places. It sort of feels that sort of flow of passion within that, and I really get that sense of where I feel when I talked about sort of the layers in Ireland, that I felt looking from the outside coming in and feeling like, I feel the lower layers. I feel those parts of the body that are the lower section, and I feel that a lot of people live from here up. They live in those higher realms, and as much as it's really important to strengthen that and to really embody that as well, it's also important to go to the lower and to feel wholeness. We need to feel all the parts. And so I guess stemming from that, if we go lower again from there, we're really getting into the earth element. We're really getting into our base, our grounded part of our body. So, into our real lower base energetic center, which is where we actually hold all our fear, and where we hold all, when we're holding on to things, we clench our butts. So it's like, so it's this place of exploring what is this earthy center all about? What is that place where we're not feeling grounded, we're not feeling open to that, and so it's connected to our sexuality, it's connected to the earth, it's connected to our fears, and so immediately, who does that represent in Ireland? It represents the Morrigan. So it's that place of who is she? She's like this amazing, dark goddess, earthy, you know, as much as she can be beautiful, she can be extremely ugly and grotesque, and she really, you know, almost reflects back to us what our own fears are. So it's about really getting in touch with our shadow, getting in touch with how can we really get it, you know, get closer to our fears so that we can actually transform them, so that they become our power. That we really embody that place in our body, we can claim our power. And so for me, that's what the Morrigan is about. She's actually very, very powerful. She's not to be afraid of. She's actually extremely powerful. So I guess that's the next workshop in the creation cauldron of Turas Fián is creating a workshop around those pieces, around what the Morrigan represents. Is there anything else that you wanted to add to that, Beth?
Nothing at all. I think that's that says it all. That's pretty perfect. Yeah.
Okay. And I guess from that point onwards, then other workshops, obviously, then we want to integrate the rest of the body again. So we want to go up and we want to look at the heart space and you know, the element of water where we're expressing and our throat and what does it mean to flow with our feelings and feel sensual and, you know, deal with our water and sort of bring all the lower up to the higher as well, integrate that. And then from there, where do we go into air, where we're thinking about consciousness and we're thinking about our thoughts and we're thinking about creativity and healing and really embodying this sense of vision and how can we see and connect all of that to the rest of our being. So I guess that's the vision of where Turas Fián is going with the journeys, and we're all still in creation mode.
Yeah, exactly. Beautifully put. And for me, it's about gathering together those threads of myth, history, story, archetype, legend, with the felt sense in the body, the blood, the bone, the flesh, and the learnings from psychology, from personal development, from transformational work, from spiritual practice, weaving all of those threads together into a individual journey, into that's done in a collective space, for personal and community and global transformation. Perfect. Beautiful.
Yeah.
So we're just at the end of what we had said that we would speak about this evening. So is there anything else that you want to say before we wrap up?
No, I really feel like there was definitely you really just consolidated everything in your last statement about what these workshops are about, and that they're really bringing in those pieces and those activities, and that we're drawing from a whole eclectic mix of transformational realities. Yeah, I just really want to speak that people will have a journey not just in some woo-woo land and not just in some dry psychological space. It's like a mixture of things where we're wanting to sort of create an eclectic space with those pieces. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
So before you finish up for us, I just want to close by issuing an invitation to those who are watching. To those women who may have a desire or feel some sense of a connection with either something that we've written, something that we've said, or how we have each individually or together transmitted this workshop that we're putting together in August in Sligo. And the invitation is to, if there is a feeling of being called, if there is a feeling of resonance, to listen to that feeling, to follow it, to ask a question if there are questions that want to be asked, and to allow yourself follow that thread. And the invitation is to join us in what I have no doubt will be a powerful, beautiful, potent, delicious journey in the Irish lush countryside. And that's my invitation to you. Do you want to close for us?
Love to.
Hmm.
So, thank you. Thank you for everybody. If you can just really feel into your body for a moment, you might want to close your eyes and maybe place your hand on your heart and just take a deep breath. Just feel into that place in your body as you breathe. A place where you've absorbed, you're processing, you're percolating. There's some piece of something that's been spoken that you've heard. It's resonating within your body, that you're feeling that in some place of you. And just acknowledge that. Acknowledge that there's a piece of you moving, some form or another. And allow whatever's resonated for you, whatever that happens to be, allow that to settle somewhere in your being. And as we take the pieces that we need from this experience and welcome them inside, we just give thanks and gratitude for the present, for the moment, the opportunity, opportunity to share, opportunity to hear. Just feel that piece of you that connected to everybody on the call. Just come back into yourself. You feel that sense of closing it down. And a knowing that whatever is integrated in you will find its purpose, will find its action, find its place in your life, in whatever form that takes. As we take a couple of last breaths, just let out a sound to resonate. Acknowledge of thanks. When you're ready, just bring yourself back. A final goodbye.
Thank you, Vanessa.
Thank you, Beth.
And thank you to everyone who's watched.
And we look forward to connecting with those that feel the call.
Absolutely. If there's a part of you that desires to connect with a fierce warrior queen, powerful in her sexuality, sovereign over her own domain, then feel free to join us. We would love to see you. Goodbye for now.
Bye.